Today I want to go over the 5 most important things that I personally think that Forsaken needs to do in order to really end off this kind of up and down zombie season on a high note, because we all know that, as I mentioned, this season has kind of been up and down, and I think that if we get a good ending, it could really make up for a lot of the downs that happen throughout the season. I mean, just look at Infinite Warfare Zombies. A lot of people kind of also fell up and down on that season, but it ended off on an incredibly high note. If we get something similar to that, I think we could be in a really good place for this zombie season. Now, how I actually want to do this is actually start at 5, making our way to number 1. Of course, 1 being the most important, which I guess 1 and 2 for me on this list are super important, which you guys will see when we get to them. But I'd also love to hear your guys' ideas for what you think Forsaken needs to do in order to be successful. So go ahead and leave those thoughts in the comment section. But with all that said, let's go ahead and jump right into this list. Starting off with number 5, and the least important for this list, but still important, is music. And the funny thing about Cold War, its music is like super underwhelming. And I know this may not sound as important, but I mean, just think of the Zombies games before, like, and I'm not just talking about like the main song, like Where Are We Going or something like that. I mean, like the music in the game, like when you're playing from round to round, when you enter a new room, do you hear music? When you complete an Easter egg, do you hear music? And that's been incredibly lacking in this game, just in terms of it existing. Like, there's just not as much music, and it's just so weird because I personally thought the music was something that we could just expect from Treyarch, because even in their last iteration, BO4, you know, a lot of things were bad about that game, but one thing that was still incredibly good was the music. But then, and because of that, I thought we were going to, you know, that was just a staple of Treyarch, and we were never going to get a game that didn't have great music. And then came along Cold War, and I'm just incredibly disappointed in this. Has to be the second most disappointing thing about this game, and to me, I think you just have to step it up with the last one. Yeah, the entire season hasn't been great, but the last map just has to bring us back to that old level. Just bring us back to a level where the music is actually, you know, memorable, because right now it's just not. In fact, it doesn't exist. There's like 5 songs per map, it feels like, and that's just not going to cut it around these times, especially when we've been spoiled by the past from what Treyarch has had. So we just need to end off on a high note in terms of music. But now moving on to number 4, and this is story. And to me, I think the story just needs to do something special here at the end, because I think everybody who is, even the hardcore people like me who have been following the story through all the intels, not just the radios, but also reading all the documents, we still feel, I mean, disappointed with the story. Like, it's just that it's hard to say that there's anything that is super crazy about this story, and because of that, I just feel like it just has to do something here at the end. I don't know what it is that they need to do, and in fact, I have no business telling them what to do, because I don't want to know what is going to happen at the end, because I want to be surprised and stuff like that. But they just need to do something for reals. Like, it's just, the story has been fine so far. I think the best way to describe the story in this game has been fine. And I'm okay with the first, you know, I guess the start of the Dark Aether story being fine, because they're just trying to set up the world, set up a background and everything, and that's fine. But at the end, we just need something to step up here. We just need a huge leap forward here that leaves us off on a crazy cliffhanger for we can expect to see something in not only Vanguard Zombies, but also then in the future to Treyarch's next iteration in their own future games. So that's something that I think we need to see. But now moving on to number 3, and this is in terms of the Easter egg. Now, obviously, I'm going to say I want the Easter egg to be good, but personally, I think this map needs more of an Origin-style Easter egg, and what I mean by that is have it, you know, still fun but complicated. And I've always had this opinion on Easter eggs in zombie games, that you have to give us a variety from map to map in different styles of Easter eggs. You can have the really easy Easter egg that is kind of like, you think about like literally almost any Easter egg in this game. You have a The Rise of the Rocket style Easter egg, you have a Moon style Easter egg, and then you have an Origin style Easter egg. Just having different variety, one that is more based on just, you know, getting the right things, like in moon, or the rise in the rocket being more skill based, or just, you know, kind of a D Machina where it is just generally easy. And I just think that we need an origin style Easter egg because we just don't have that currently. And I'm not here to say that there should be an origin style Easter egg in every single map. I'm just saying for the final map, it should be a little bit more difficult. It should be a bit more complicated. It should be harder to figure out because it is the last map. And I know some people aren't a fan of more difficult Easter eggs, but I feel like just for the end, we do have to end it off like this. And to me, it just makes it better if it's more difficult at the end, personally. I'm not asking for a revelation style Easter egg. That's incredibly cheesy, but an origin style Easter egg, and that's just what I think the Easter egg, I guess, philosophy behind it should be. But now moving on to number 2, and the second most important one, but kind of, it's going to kind of blend in with number 1 if I'm being completely honest here. And what this is I think we need a super Easter egg. Like, Treyarch, come on, you were the first ones to do it all the way back in 2013 with Black Ops 2. Come on, you did it in Buried. Why can't we have at least something similar to that, like for reals? And I mean, we all know that what we really want you to be, we don't really want, you know, BO2 style super Easter egg. We really want more of an Infinite Warfare style Easter egg, because that was just insane. Like having the super Easter egg boss fight, and of course requiring you to beat all the Easter eggs again in order to get to that point, was just such a cool experience. I absolutely loved that. And we don't have to go to their level. I know that, I don't know if Zombie gets funded like it did back then, but still, I think that at least something. It doesn't have to be too crazy. It doesn't have to be Infinite Warfare Zombie style super Easter egg with, you know, a ton of extra cutscenes and an entire boss fight, super Easter egg boss fight, that is. Like, it doesn't have to be that, but it has to be something close to that, right? It just has to be something kind of crazy and probably also difficult, I would probably add on top of that. And if we could just get a super Easter egg again, it would just be such a nice, I guess, breath of fresh air, because it's just like, Treyarch's never truly done it. I mean, yeah, BO2 as I mentioned, but they never really did it like Infinite Warfare. And everyone who was around during Infinite Warfare at the time really knows how, you know, incredible that was for having that super Easter egg. But of course, we don't just have to have a super Easter egg, we got to have something more than that. And this brings me to number 1 on my list, and what I personally think to be the most important thing for the success of Forsaken. Not to be, you know, a successful map, but to make it a very memorable map. And this is rewards. And this is not only rewards for completing regular Easter eggs, even though we will touch on that. In fact, we'll touch on it right now, because right now when you complete an Easter egg, like, you get rewarded with a cutscene, and that's really cool the first time you've seen the cutscene, but after you've seen the cutscene like 2, 3, 4, 5 times, it's just like, it's not a reward anymore. And what you get rewarded for completing Easter eggs after you're just kind of tired of the Easter egg is a game over screen. And I don't think people like really want to see that over and over and over again, because it just doesn't incentivize people to doing the Easter egg, and I just don't really like that. And I'm not saying that, you know, everybody is just going to, you know, want some reward after completing the Easter egg like back in BO3 when you got a perkaholic, because I do know that even if you get a perkaholic, most people are going to end the game after completing an Easter egg anyways, so I don't really care about that. Instead, what I want them to focus on is not really reward after in the same game of completing Easter egg, but some permanent rewards after completing Easter eggs. And I don't know if this is something that they could even they will retroactively do to previous Easter eggs, but at the very least, what I'd like to see is kind of building on my previous point, and that being the super Easter egg. And if we assume we get a super Easter egg, I think that we need some major rewards for it. And it doesn't have to be Infinite Warfare level style, you know, rewards, like having all the perks right as you spawn in and all of them being permanent and also spawning in with like 25,000 points or something like that. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but just giving us a couple more 1,000 points off of spawn, maybe not giving us the perks right at spawn, but when you buy the perks they're permanent or something like that, or just give us something, because really it's just incredibly disappointing if like that we don't get rewards. And having a system like that and having us a super Easter egg and completing that, having the rewards of this would just be so nice. And I think it would just really benefit the memorability of this final DLC and really this overall season. Because really think about it, no one would really be talking about Infinite Warfare Zombies if it wasn't for its super Easter egg. Like, I love Infinite Warfare Zombies, don't get me wrong, but I'm being honest here, like no one would really remember it, and it really salvaged a season that most people were quite apathetic to. So for a season like Cold War, which has been very up and down, I think it would really like tie a bow on top of it, even though it may have had some low points, but this could really make up for that. But that's not all I want to see in terms of rewards. And again, this is building off of an assumed super Easter egg, right? We don't even know if it's even going to have one. But if we do get a super Easter egg, what I think should happen is that we shouldn't get more story information for Cold War story or even Treyarch's next game, because what I think would be incredibly cool would be if you complete the super Easter egg, not only you get all the gameplay rewards, but also you get a cinematic. And what the cinematic or ending cutscene would be for is not what we currently know in the Dark Ether story, but the setup to the story of Vanguard Zombies. Like, imagine how cool that would be, because currently we literally know nothing about Vanguard Zombies at this point. Like, we just don't know anything. But imagine our very first, I guess, real information about Vanguard Zombies comes from completing a super Easter egg. Like, oh, that would be so cool. I mean, just the idea of that just like gives me goosebumps. Imagine we complete a super Easter egg, and then of course we get all the gameplay rewards, but also we get our first peek at Vanguard Zombies. And it doesn't have to be something incredibly huge. It doesn't have to be the intro cutscene or trailer or anything like that. It just has to be some sort of, you know, kind of like how we normally see an ending cutscene, something like that. And that would just be so cool, because imagine revealing it just by completing things in game. That would just be mind-blowing to me personally. But either way, those are my 5 things that I think should happen in Vanguard Zombies. I love to hear what you guys think about these ideas. You guys love them, hate them, you know, have your own ideas, go ahead, leave all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. But I'm gonna head out, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever the heck it may be, and laters, guys.